Sometimes things that look identical on the surface are, well, completely different underneath. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. We've got two cooperative models, one in Sri Lanka, one in India, that look like they were built from the same blueprint. But as you're about to see, how they actually work and the results they get couldn't be further apart. So what is going on here? And that's the big question, right? It's a real head scratcher. How can you have two organizations, both with the same three-level structure, but one succeeds wildly and the other, not so much? There's clearly something happening behind the scenes, and that's what we're here to unpack. And I mean, just look at this. On paper, they are practically twins. Both models have this three-tiered system. You start in the village, you go up to the district level, and then you have the state level at the top. The names are a bit different, sure, but that core hierarchy, it's exactly the same. But believe me, this is where the similarities end. All right, so let's start at the very bottom, at the foundation, the village level. This is supposed to be the bedrock of the whole system, and it's right here, right at the very beginning, that we start to see the first major cracks appear. Okay, right off the bat, look at the difference in who's in charge. In India's Amul model, it's self-managed. The members elect their own people, they make the decisions. Simple. But in Sri Lanka, it's not self-managed. There's a government official who sits on the board, making sure government rules are followed. Then you've got responsibility. The Sri Lankan societies are supposed to do, well, everything. Operations, supply chain, marketing, the whole shebang. Meanwhile, the Indian model is laser-focused on just one thing, daily operations. That is a massive, massive difference in scope. And that lack of focus in Sri Lanka, it has some pretty huge consequences. They're doing retail, banking, they're running hospitals, even funeral services. They're spread so thin, they can't really get good at any one thing. Now compare that to India's singular focus. Milk, that's it. But here's the real kicker, the most important part, the money. In India, the profits get shared with the members. It directly helps them. In Sri Lanka, the members almost never see a dividend. Yeah, I mean, this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? If the people in the cooperative, the members, aren't actually benefiting from its success, then what's the point? The whole purpose is just broken from the start. So you can already see the cracks forming at the base. And when we move up a level to the district, things really start to fall apart. The problems we saw at the village don't just get bigger, they cause a total breakdown in the value chain. Okay, the difference here is just wild. In India, the district union has a super clear job. Get the milk, process it, and move it. It's providing a real, tangible service. In Sri Lanka, the district federation has no clear responsibility. It's optional for the village societies to even use them. And get this, it can actually be more expensive for a village to buy from its own district federation than to just go to an outside company. How does that make any sense? And really, what else would you expect? When your own system makes things more complicated and more expensive, it's not just failing its members, it's failing as a business, plain and simple. The whole value chain is just broken. Okay, so now we're at the very top, the state level. And this is where the Sri Lankan model goes from being kind of useless to being actively harmful to its own members. I mean, we're talking about a massive conflict of interest here. I mean, it's like night and day. The Indian State Federation acts like a marketing and sales department for its members. Its job is to help them sell their products. But in Sri Lanka, the state-level entity, Sathosa, is a government-run business that has its own retail shops. It is literally competing head-to-head with the village societies it's supposed to be supporting. On top of that, you have government management versus professional corporate-style managers. These aren't just two different models. They're from different planets. You really can't put it any clearer than this quote does. It's just absurd. The very head of your organization is also your biggest rival. It completely goes against the entire idea of what a cooperative is supposed to be. Okay, so let's take a step back. We've seen how these two structures, which looked so similar, completely diverge at every single level. So what's the big takeaway here? Let's pull it all together and figure out what really separates a cooperative that works from one that just doesn't. So what are the key ingredients from the successful Amul model? First, it's run by its members. They're in control. Second, every level has a very clear job to do, and it adds real value. Third, the whole system works together. It's integrated, not competitive. And maybe most important of all, the members share in the profits. And finally, the whole thing is focused and professionally managed. And when you look at all those points, it really comes down to one simple, powerful idea. Every single difference we just talked about, from who's in charge, to who gets the money, to whether you compete with your own team, it all stems from this. Is the organization truly run by the members, for the members? One of these models lives and breathes that idea. The other, well, not so much. And that really leaves us with this one big question to chew on. It's obvious that just having cooperative in your name or having a certain structure on a chart isn't what makes you a cooperative. So, at what point does an organization that competes with its own members and keeps the profits for itself just stop being a cooperative at all? Something to think about.